Dan Bilzerian joins me now. Dan, first I just want to give you a platform here. If there's anything you want to say in response to that clip, because obviously they tried to clip that out to make you look bad. They didn't get you a clip of the policy arguments. They didn't get you a clip on the issue with dual loyalty. They go with a clip like that, which is viral, but I think it made you look good, quite frankly. I think you come out looking good in that, not them. But is there anything in the aftermath of that you're like, hold on a second, I need to clarify some of the things that were said and some of the things that weren't said?
Not really. I thought it was kind of a ridiculous interview. I will say, though, they did go twice as hard on Randy after I think they saw like 97% of their comments across 5 platforms were all in support of me. So I don't know if that was because they wanted me back on there or because they knew that their audience was, on my side, but they definitely roasted him pretty good.
Isn't it funny, though? Oh, wow, I didn't realize Randy Fine was an Islamophobe. I didn't realize Randy Fine was a bigot. Doesn't that prove the double standard? Because to me, that's kind of what got lost in the conversation, was that you were simply putting out a double standard. You were exposing the double standard. It didn't even register to them. And then it's like, oh yeah, we didn't even know Randy Fine was a bigot. It's like, isn't that the point? Like
That's exactly it. It's the hypocrisy of, you can't say anything about Jews, but you can just blast Muslims. You got Bill Maher going on national television saying that Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas. And that's kind of where we're at in this country, is there's a massive double standard. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, I think that Jews are causing a disproportionate amount of problems in the United States. And I think that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to the world today. And I'm not going to dance around that issue. That's just the facts. So, if they want to come up with made up words like anti-Semite, which, like I said, it's a completely nonsensical word. I mean, the Arabs are the actual, if we're actually talking about anti-Semitism, then you would say that Israel is the most anti-Semitic place on the planet because they're conducting a genocide against Semites. But the problem is they've weaponized the word, and they've used the word solely to focus on, Jewish victimhood, which is pretty much non-existent. But they use that card like they use the Holocaust over and over and over and over again. And I think we're just tired of hearing it, like I'm just done with it. I don't want to hear the word anymore. The reason that I spent so much time clarifying is because I think it's important for people to understand that this isn't like some word that's existed for a long time. This is kind of something that they came up with to, it's like a canard or a trope or all these fucking words that Jews have to describe blood libel, whatever it is, to describe things that they are actually guilty of, but they name it, something else, or they come up with a word that sounds really bad and they just say it over and over and over and over again, like anti-Semite. And for a while, when we believe this Jewish victim narrative, the word had a lot of power, but now we're seeing it so overused. And when it's, any kind of a criticism of Israel is now anti-Semitic, and it's anti-Semitic to, want pedophiles to be brought to justice, and it's anti-Semitic to want to stop a genocide. It's just like, fuck off, like at this point, like that word is it's just nonsense. And I'm not going to, give it any credibility by saying, yes, I'm anti-Semitic, or no, I'm not anti. It's just nonsense. Like it's a word is just complete horseshit.
Well, and it's woke in its presentation. It's woke in the effectiveness that they want it to have. You are running as a Republican, correct?
Yes.
So the reason why I ask this is because let's come at it through the left-right paradigm here for a second, even though I think both of us would probably agree the left-right paradigm is kind of useless right now, but it is still there. So the reason why I come at this from the right is there's a conversation that we have on the right that people from the left will come out and say, oh, that's racist. I'm talking about crime rates and demographics and per capita. This is a conversation that happens all the time on the right. And you talk about how the majority of crimes per capita are committed in America by black people. Now, on the right, you're allowed to have this conversation. You're allowed to talk about it, look at the numbers. And if a liberal Democrat comes out and says, oh, that's racist, you say, now hold on a second. These are facts. These are factual things that we're talking about here. A certain demographic committing the vast majority of the crime. These are facts. You say, oh, well, that's not racist. That's a fact. The left says it's racist. Okay, so now we're on the right side of the angle. You just said something about Jews that you know people are going to freak out about. And I just say, well, hold on a second. If you're willing to talk about an issue and say, here's a demographic, connection to this issue, why can't you do the thing on the right? So if you come out and you say, I think that there is an disproportionate amount of Jewish influence or Jewish money or Jewish power or lobbying in American politics, why is that racist? Because that's really the word, anti-Semite. We'll get back into that in a second. They're really just calling you racist. So how come if you're on the right, I'm looking for some logical consistency here. How come you're allowed to talk about demographics and trends when it comes to crime statistics, but you're not allowed to talk about it if you're talking about political influence and a different demographic? To me, there's an inconsistency there.
Well, let me just zoom out and solve that equation for you. It is because all of this is coming from the people that are in control. You cannot criticize the people that are in power. And this whole thing of wokeness, like, yes, that's a problem, but it is only attributed to the left. And that is what is coming from the Jewish media. The Jewish media is who feeds the left these talking points. They are the ones that are making the left crazy. The left is just following, they're just following the narrative. They're just following what CNN tells them. They're just following what Hollywood tells them. And so what you have is you have the right looking at the left like, oh, these are a bunch of crazy people. And I think it's just bad programming. So I don't get mad at the left. I get mad at the people that are feeding the left their talking points. And you ask why you can't criticize Jews is because they are the ones that are actually controlling all of this. That's why it doesn't matter if you vote Democrat or you vote Republican, you still get, $100 billion sent to Israel, $100 billion sent to Ukraine, whatever. Like, you still are supporting these Jewish causes because at the end of the day, those are the people that are actually pulling the string. So if we want to talk about the real crux of the problem, it's Jewish supremacy. It's not a left versus right. It's not a Christian versus Muslim. It's not white versus black. It is Jew versus Gentile. And I know that that's going to be, this crazy thing that you can't fucking say, but I'm tired of dancing around the issue.
I want to give you an opportunity to clarify what I think you were trying to get to before you were interrupted during that interview, which it's really so funny to, honestly, Dan, I'll admit maybe I'm a little biased because you and I have conversations. I don't talk to the boys over there at TMZ, but to me, you came off as much more, well-rounded and understood. They kind of came off like beta cucks during that interview, but they were interrupting you and you didn't really get this point across. And you were trying to explain how, hey, you guys are okay with Randy Fine being Islamophobic. Nobody's calling for Randy Fine to be removed from office or he's too bigoted or he's too racist when he bashes Muslims all day. But all of a sudden you offer one criticism of Jewish people and now all of a sudden you can't run. You're a bigot. You're not qualified. It's like that's the double standard that you were trying to explain. I don't even think it registered with them though, Dan. I don't. It's like they were too low IQ to even understand what you were saying, and maybe that's because they were ignorant, as you were pointing out. Once they found out, okay, there is something there, they came around. How much of this, how much of what your campaign is going to do, how much of it is it about breaking down those walls and getting some logical consistency so that people can see the whole spectrum of conversation and not just the limited spectrum they want us to see?
That's a part of it, but I want to get in there and shake the motherfucking tree. I want to dismantle the Fed. I want to get rid of the IRS. I want to get rid of the ATF. Like, I want to shrink government. I want to prosecute anybody for treason that has that's serving in office that has more allegiance to a foreign country than the U.S. Like, I want to really enact change. I don't want to just say this stupid bullshit talking points that the Republicans say on their side and the left reads all their little fucking bullshit and then nothing ever changes. Nothing ever happens. Like, I want to get in there and actually really throw a fucking grenade in the toilet. Like, I want change. I want this government to stop operating in the best interest of a foreign nation. I want this government to focus on the United States. Like, I want an actual America first. I want all the things that Trump promised us and then just completely fucking rug pulled and lied to us about. That's what I want. And I also want to enact laws to where if you say that you're going to do something when you get in office and you just fucking lie to everybody and then do the opposite, I think you should be prosecuted for that. And I think you should be impeached for that. I think that there should be actual culpability with what you say. Like, I think if you're going to make a promise, you're going to run on something and you don't do it, you should be fucking held accountable for that. And I just think that's what this country is lacking, is accountability.
Well, that is a message that is going to be very popular. That's a message that's going to resonate with a bunch of people. And that's why the only angle they're going to have against you is this claim of anti-Semite, which, you kind of addressed one angle of it when you were doing that interview. The other angle that I think is, it kind of proves that it's a weaponized word, is really all you're saying is racist. That's all you're saying is it's racist. You're calling somebody a racist is what you're doing. But they've used this word anti-Semite like a weapon. So it's like, oh, no, that's a special racism. That's like a special.
Exactly.
It's like extra racism is anti-Semitic. So,
yeah, exactly. They've weaponized the word, just like, Nazi and all these things where it just has like such a strong connotation because they've baked in all this propaganda for years and years and years that when you hear these words, it's like, oh, you freeze in your tracks. And that's what Jews have been doing. They've been conditioning us that they're victims and that you can't criticize them. And if you do, you're the biggest scum of the earth. And, the Holocaust and anti-Semitism and trope and blood libel. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm done hearing about all this shit, while at the same time, you go and vilify all Muslims, say they're all fucking terrorists, say, Sharia law is coming to America. It's just bullshit. It's just absolute bullshit. The greatest threat to America is Jewish supremacy, and it's not fucking Islamification. There's less than 1% of America's Muslims. They're the least thing that we should be worried about. And, let me clarify this, because I know that, it's just frustrating that you always have to say this, but there's people that just cannot wrap their hands around not every Jew is bad, but Jews can also be causing problems. So just because one good Jew doesn't mean that Jews aren't causing problems. Just like if I were to tell you that Asians are short and you say, oh no, but I know a tall Asian. Okay, motherfucker, Asians are still short. You know a tall Asian, great. And my point is that all Jews do not have to be bad for Jews to be causing problems. And that's what I'm trying to say. Just like, there's definitely Muslims that are causing problems, but to say that all Muslims are bad is just an ignorant statement.
Well, that's why I use the juxtaposition when it comes to commentary on the right about, crime rates or demographics or specifically, let's say, issues in Black America's culture. The right has no problem discussing these things as an issue and talking about race, but it's like, oh, you're not allowed to do that about a different race or about a different religion than Islam. And so that to me is the double standard that needs to be broken down here. And I think that I think it's happening, Dan. It's really just a matter of getting it to the mainstream, obviously, where it's been rejected.
Let's talk about that for a second. What is the ultimate purpose of that? What is the ultimate purpose of saying, if a cop kills a Black guy, it's racism? If, something happens to a Jew, it's anti-Semitism. But then if something happens to a white person, whatever, you stab this poor innocent Ukrainian girl on the subway. Nobody helps her. Nobody gives a fuck. This guy's going to get off, But if that was a Black girl, if that was a Jewish person, it would be hands across America, would be posting black squares, would be going crazy, would be burning down fucking police stations. So what actually is this? I'll explain it. It's very simple. It's an attack on whites. That's what it is, plain and simple. And that's coming from the Jewish community. And you see it over and over when they say, kill a white person today, or they tweet some crazy, vile thing against whites. And then 20 tweets later, it's like, oh, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. How many times have we seen that? And so like, you look at where all this white hate is coming from, who's pushing all the NGOs that are funding open borders? Who's pushing this melting pot idea? All of that is basically an attack on whites. It's not an attack on Blacks. It's not an attack on Jews. Who does that ultimately hurt? Who does DEI hurt? All these things are focused to basically undermine white people. And, and nobody wants to talk about that because you say that and you're a white supremacist, there's all these stupid labels, but it's just calling a spade, and I'm tired of dancing around issues. I'm tired of pretending, that we can't, just like, they have like, oh, the N word, if you say that, it's this crazy thing, but you can say spick. It's not the S word. You can say cracker. It's not the C word. What they do is they create this like this victim narrative that, they show, oh, well, blacks are perpetual victims and Jews are victims. So if they're a part of a victim category, all of a sudden they get special treatment. You can't talk about them. You can't criticize them. They don't give a fuck about black people. They just use blacks so that they can also inherit all those victim category rights. And the funny thing is the whole thing of like, one of the reasons why I think blacks are kind of being violent against whites is because of this whole like slave narrative that's been push. The funny thing is that when you actually dive into it, you realize that Jews were disproportionately responsible for the slave trade. And they shut the slave trade down on all Jewish holidays because not enough people would show up, to the auction. So, Malcolm X talked about this. It's one of these things where you have to really question things that they tell you cannot talk about.
It was hilarious in that interview, and you called them out on this, and they quickly, I think, backed down because they realized how ridiculous it was, and then they went on to, I'm sure you heard the shock. Oh my, he said the N-word. Oh, it was like the whole TMZ studio went into a conniption fit, like they're all children. And that's really what got exposed, is it really is an immature mindset here. And it was so great the way you phrased it. It's like, are we not adults? Can we not have a conversation? So
like it's not racist to say a word. And I also think it's important to say these words because it removes, the stigma. It removes the shock, here's the bottom line. Everybody's fucking equal. Nobody's better than anybody else. And if you actually want to end racism, which they don't, by the way, they don't want to end racism, but if they actually wanted to end racism, they would accept the fact that everybody's equal. You don't need to put people in victim categories. You can't have blacks say, heinous things about whites, or Jews say heinous things about whites, but then you can't say things about them. It would be no double standards. Everybody's equal. That's the only thing that works. When you try and say, oh, well, a black guy can say nigga, but a white guy can't, or if you say the hard R, it's just all these nonsensical things. Like, just shut the fuck up. It's words. Like, when I grew up, if there was a word that could trigger you, that could get under your skin, everybody would fucking say it to you. And that went for my high school. That went for the military. I don't give a fuck what race, what religion you were. You better have thick skin. And we've lost that, and now today, everybody's so sensitive and they're so triggered, and a word is just going to get them to fucking fight people. Meanwhile, our fucking politicians are fucking children. We're paying to bomb children's schools, and nobody's focused on that. But if you say a word, people lose their fucking minds. That tells me that there has been propaganda, programming that is not conducive to logical thinking. And that's the problem today, is like everybody is like so ingrained in this propaganda, and you have to think this, and you can't say this, and you can't do this. And it's just fucking bullshit. You need to zoom out and you need to analyze things for yourself. That was what COVID was about. It's like, no, you have to, trust the science, take the jab. If you don't do it, we're going to fire you. We're going to ostracize you. We're going to paint you as a fucking crazy person. You're putting other people in danger. It was all bullshit. And that came from the government. So to me, when people lie to me over and over and over again, I stop trusting them. And I just think there needs to be some real fucking accountability with politicians and with the government. The government should never lie to you. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. The government is supposed to serve the people, not fucking manipulate the people. They are there. Politicians are there to serve the country, not to have the country serve them. And that's what we have right now. We've got the people, serving the government. The government is basically taking advantage of the people. People in political office are, they're using the system to get rich at the people's expense. And that shit needs to fucking stop.
And it looks like, our guy, Trump, may be the worst offender of it. And if
my fucking guy,
if logic logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. And that's what you exposed in that conversation. But what was even crazier is when they tried to claim that Jew, they were accusing you. They said that Jew was also a racial slur, which of course that's news to everybody. I didn't know that, but okay. So then they say, oh, Jew is a racial slur. Meanwhile, he's saying Jew this, Jew that. It's Jew all day long. They don't censor any of that, but they did censor one word, Dan. They did bleep one word, and it wasn't Jew.
I mean, it's just nonsense. Everybody saw through it. The beauty is that people are awake to this shit, and you see that in the comments. Like, if you look across their 5 platforms, it's like 95% of the comments are on my side, which is probably one of the reasons why they roasted Randy so bad and exposed the double standard. And that gives me hope, right? It gives me hope that people are finally kind of like waking up to what's going on. I just hope that's reflective of most of America. My fear is that the young people know what's going on, but the older people that are actually casting the votes don't. Those are the people that are kind of like still plugged into to Fox News and still kind of like, buying the propaganda. And so, the real question with this election is going to be, can we mobilize the youth to actually fucking do something, to stop being lazy, to get off their fucking TikTok and to go cast some votes and to go actually have a say. And I think my running might change that. I think people like me running, like the Marine McGinnis, he's actually running for Senate. He's a great guy. And people like that, I think, might pull out some of these young voters because, before this, I mean, what was it? It was fucking Hillary, it's Hillary Clinton. It's fucking, it's Biden. It's Trump. It's Kamala Harris. It's like, you never even have a fucking good choice. It's like, what is it, bad or worse, Yeah. But I think if people that are coming into office for the right reasons start running, I think then people will stop being so black-pilled. They'll feel like they can actually do something.
Well, I do think that your race is going to be one of a couple in this midterm election cycle that we're going to get an idea of where that's at. And when you talk about the youth vote, I do think, because it's always going to be a numbers game, I think that we're on the cusp. You talk about the generational gap in politics. I do think we're on the cusp. I don't know if it'll be the midterms or 2032, or rather 2028, I guess I should say. I don't know if it'll be the midterms 2026 or the presidential 2028, but one of those two elections, we're going to see what we would normally consider the youth versus the boomer class, let's say. We're about to overwhelm them by the numbers. I think that this is going to become a political reality. I don't know if it's going to be this election cycle or the next, but that is an inevitability. That's just a numbers game. That's just a timeline. And so once we cross that threshold, because I'm sure you've seen, the only people that are clinging to this foreign policy, let's be specific, the only people that are clinging to this unpopular foreign policy are right-wing boomers. That's it. The left wing is totally abandoned. They're out of the Middle East foreign policy completely. And now the young
politicians aren't, though. That's the problem. Their fucking politicians aren't. And I think that's one of the big eye-openers that, the left is going to see is like, this is clearly a very important issue for them. And their politicians are not representing them. The politicians are still, funding fucking Israel. They're still signing the bills. The right and the left can't agree on anything, but they can agree to support Israel. So, and this is something that I feel like the left and the right, the voting class, can agree in the other direction. So I think that disparity tells you everything you need to know. Like, we are not being represented. And when it's, and when people wake up to the fact that, getting Democrats in there, getting Republicans in there is not going to solve the problem, I think they're going to zoom out and start looking at like, who's actually responsible for this? Who's actually controlling the country? Because it isn't a left versus right anymore.
What is it going to take to force Randy Fine and you onto the debate stage? Because he's going to try to hide. He's going to try to avoid it at all costs.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to do it. He's actually pretty well spoken. I was impressed with how he did on that TMZ interview. I mean, they provided really damning evidence. He talks and acts like a politician. But man, they went after him, And he didn't have, he didn't have great rebuttals. I mean, the biggest thing that he was saying is like, oh, well, Dan's a dual citizen and this, that, and the other. And it's like, I'm actually not. I have 3 citizenships. I have, I don't even know what you would call a tri-citizen, whatever. But that's not the problem. The problem isn't that I have a passport from St. Kitts so I can travel easier if I wanted to go into, places that require a visa. And the problem isn't that I have a passport, where I could go into Armenia, because Armenia and St. Kitts have no influence in our foreign policy whatsoever. We don't fund them. We don't do anything for them. They're not even a thought. But the real problem lies in 35 members of our Congress are Jews, and anybody that's a Jew can go to Israel and get citizenship just because they're a Jew. They can also flee the country when they molest children and they have charges against them, and Israel won't extradite them. So that's the real threat, because when you have Jews in Congress, whether they're citizens or not, they can get a citizenship tomorrow. They get a citizenship today. So, and many of them have it and they're not disclosing it. So I think what you should have is you should have a forced disclosure. If you have multiple citizenships, you should have to disclose that. And that should take you out of having the ability to vote on any issues involving that country. Randy Fine should not be able to vote on anything concerning, on anything concerning Israel. And he certainly shouldn't be able to walk around and fucking vote for other people like he's done in the past. But that is the threat. The threat is having Jews in Congress that have more allegiance to Israel than they do to America, and voting and enacting laws to this country's detriment. And to me, that's treason. And that's what we need to fucking crack down on.
And by the way, Randy Fine would say that exact same thing, except aim it at Muslims. And so if you're allowed to hold that.
Well, I mean, what do we have? 3, 4 fucking Muslims in all of Congress? Like, what was this idea that Muslims are a threat to us or they're a problem? It's just complete fucking bullshit. The only ones that would be a threat are the ones that came across the border illegally because they decided to flood our country with the worst possible, candidates, right? Because anybody that's going to do it legal, you're going to make them wait 8 years. They got to, go through all this paperwork. But if you want to swim across the border with a fucking pistol and a pocket full of drugs, come on in. You want to fucking come over here from a war-torn country where the U.S. funded the bombing of your fucking relatives? Come on in, no problem. And then can you blame those people if they're fucking angry at America? If they're angry because of our support of Israel. So, that's kind of the issue. It's not the people that are coming in here legally. And, and Trump was talking about, oh, I'm going to deport, blah, blah. It was all performative. What did they end up doing? They ended up shooting some fucking U.S. citizens. They didn't even deport 1 million so far. They've been at this for it's just nonsense. Like it's just a bunch of empty promises. But yes, I mean, if you want to talk about actually doing something, you should be deporting all the people that came in here illegally. And if you want to let people in this country, fine, just have them go through a process, or else what's even the fucking point of having a passport? Why even have border checks? Like, you know what I mean? It's just all you're doing is inconveniencing everybody that's doing it the right way.
Or why have any laws? It's like, why should I abide by any laws if we have a wide open border and anybody can come in here and get welfare, by the way? So I'm sure you're going to see some of this as you get more into the weeds of this race. Randy Fine, I don't know if it's still there, but Randy Fine for a while had an Israeli flag in his office. He's trying to distance himself like, oh, I'm not a citizen of Israel. He not only had an Israeli flag in his office, he violated the U.S. flag code. He had it higher than the U.S. flag. And when you see Fine coming out and saying, oh, well, I proposed the bill against dual citizenship. I'm proposing bills against dual loyalties. Hold on a second. Thomas Massey proposed those bills a year ago and Fine voted against them. So Randy Fine voted against the bill when it was Massey and then reintroduced it as his own like it was his idea.
It's all bullshit, man. It's all bullshit. He's Jew first, Israel second, and America fucking last. And it's not going to change. And most of these Jews are like that. You look at all the top neocons, it's like 90-something% of all the neocons are all fucking Jewish. All the people that are pushing us to go into these foreign wars are disproportionately Jewish. Yet the people enlisting in our actual military, they're massively underrepresented. So they want to push, American Christians to go fucking die in foreign wars to benefit Israel. But in the meantime, they're not putting any boots on the ground from Israel, and they're not joining our fucking military either. Did you know the top 5 countries that we fund, Israel's number 1? And did you know out of all 5 of those, 4 of them have sent us troops to help, assist in war efforts. The only one that hasn't is fucking Israel. So how is it that the country that we've given the most aid has given us the least amount of support? How does that make sense?
The only sense I could even begin to fathom is, one, the reason why our politics get slanted to such a degree is blackmail, right? I mean, there's just blackmail, whether it's Epstein stuff or whether it's financial stuff. But then two, and I know you're familiar with this. You're a military guy. You understand military tactics. The Israeli military operates totally differently than any other military on earth. And they love to make this claim about they're the most moral. That's extremely debatable, if not outright ridiculous. But as you know, what the Israeli military does differently, and this is why I don't think they join the U.S. military, the American Jews would rather serve in the IDF than they would the American military. That's because what the IDF does is they go and just bomb everything. The first thing they do is a military demolition. We saw it in Gaza. We're seeing it in Lebanon. So they just annihilate everything before they send any boots on the ground. And I guess you could make the argument it's the lowest chance of having any casualties in your military, and I guess maybe that's their argument here. But that's what they do. They don't put their people in harm's way. They're not going boots on the ground. They're not looking for the bad guys and risking their lives. They're going to, here's an apartment building. There's one guy in it. There might be 100 other people. Just bring down the whole building. Screw them.
They don't give a shit if there's one guy in there or not. They want to destroy all of Gaza. They have done it. They've destroyed every single working hospital. They've bombed every church. They've bombed like 90-something% of all the schools. This is not a humanitarian effort. They've used human shields, literally strapped Palestinians to the front of their fucking tanks, sent them in when they're clearing buildings, pushed them through the fucking door. They've used human shields by every definition of the word. And in fact, if you look at Haaretz, I mean, they've done multiple articles of this. So they don't even deny it. I would say that they are one of the least moral armies. They've targeted children. I mean, how many doctors have come forward and said that, all these children have been sniped in the head, I was in the military. Like I went through, a bunch of fucking SEAL training. We shot a bunch of guns. Like I went through some sniper training, and there's no version of you looking through a high power scope and not being able to tell whether or not you're shooting a fucking child. Like you don't take a shot until you are 100% sure of what you are shooting and what is behind the shot that you're taking. So this idea that a sniper could accidentally shoot a child is just complete fucking nonsense. Like these guys are looking through 30 power optics. Like they're seeing the fucking, the amount of hairs on that person's face. So when a sniper deliberately shoots a child in the head or in the heart over and over and over and over again, and you've got doctors testifying to this, I think you have a real problem, and I think the problem comes in that they think that they're better than everybody else. They've got a religion of supremacy, and they're trying to remove all the, legitimate Palestinians from that land. They want a greater Israel. They're not, being too shy about it. They've invaded Lebanon. They're trying to take fucking land. These are war crimes. You're not allowed to forcefully take land. We established that, and they don't give a shit. They don't want peace. They just want to take more land, and they're using us as a pawn to accomplish their objectives. And I think everybody's kind of like, getting wise to this.
Yeah. Not just getting wise to it, but getting very upset about it, to say the least. And I guess if you were going to want to harvest some organs, the headshot would be the way, Dan.
Well, I mean, they've talked about, they have, like the largest skin bank, it's like they talk about, they've, harvested tons of Palestinian organs, their skin, the whole thing, Israelis don't do that. So yeah, I mean, their whole society is a problem. It's sick. I mean, you see what they're doing on the, West Bank, and none of that can be attributed to Hamas. There's no Hamas in the West Bank. Now it's come out that Israel has, been the one funding Hamas. They created it. So it's like, everything they said was bullshit. They allowed October 7th to happen so they could point to that. They killed their own citizens during October 7th to make the numbers higher, and, yeah, it's a very sick society. And I think
here's the hurdle, Dan, and I know you know this, but so people understand if they're hearing this and they're just like floored by it, the hurdle is none of this gets covered in Western media. That's the problem. Many of the things that you've claimed here have been testified by the IDF in front of the Knesset. Many IDF members have come forward and said the exact same things that you've said, and this does get covered in Israeli media. They've got a dual type of media, just like we do with the left-right paradigm. They've got people against Netanyahu, pro-Netanyahu. None of this makes it to our country, Dan. That's the problem.
Well, it's starting to on Twitter. You know, you got members of the IDF, you know, coming on record saying that, you know, their commander saw a 4-year-old child playing in the backyard. He went over there, broke his arm, broke his leg, and then stomped him to death in front of the entire unit. And he told them that, you know, you have to kill them young so they don't become terrorists. I mean, like, this was testified by an IDF soldier. You know, this is in their, you know, their publication. This is like their newspaper putting this story out. So it's not like somebody doing a hit job on them. They're reporting from within. And, you know, that kind of goes to my point of, like, you know, not every Jew is bad. Like, there's clearly, you know, Jews in Israel that are against this and that are actively exposing it. But the problem is the majority of that society is in favor of this. I mean, they set up, you know, like they set up observation nests for them to watch the bombing of Gaza. It's, you know, it's like predominantly like a very sick society, and they've been operating
like cruises. They do like cruises where they go by and they're like, ooh, ah.
Yeah, that too. And then, you know, now they're getting a front row seat to it, thankfully. Wow. Compliments of Iran. So, you know, it's I think, and the funny thing is listening to them, you know, kvetch on fucking Twitter about like, oh, this is our life, and, you know, we've got, you know, this is how we're in a bomb shelter. It's like, these other countries don't have bomb shelters. Lebanon doesn't have bomb shelters. You know, when you're blowing up fucking children over there on the daily, you know, like, those people don't even get to hide in bomb shelters, and they actually expect us to feel bad for them. Meanwhile, the whole world is fucking cheering this on. They're just so tone deaf, and they're so used to everybody thinking that they're the victim. And I think it's like a part of their culture too, of just like this, like, constantly, you know, complaining and acting like a victim and begging for sympathy.
Mind control is what it is. It's what they do to Black Americans with all the slave stuff in history, the brutal presentation of slavery in the media, in the movies. That's all to create this victim, this trauma-based mind control on Black Americans. They do the same thing to Jews with the Holocaust. It's all trauma-based mind control in order to try to control people like that. And that's what they're doing. And I think, to get a little more into the psychological aspect of this, to me, it's like watching the guy that's never been in a fight before. And I guess if you have this, you know, technological superiority over your enemies where you don't even have to get in a fight with them, right? And you just fly a plane over them and just, you know, bomb them all. You never have to get in a fight. And then it's like when they actually get punched in the mouth, they're like, oh, you punched me. It's like, you started a fight. You know, I mean, it's almost like they have this concept that, hey, I'm allowed to start a fight and not take any blows. And maybe that's been the case with their military. But I mean, that's what it's like. It's like, I've seen guys like this. It's like, you know, I'm not some tough guy, but it's like, we've all probably seen the guy who loves to start a fight, but doesn't like to get punched. It's kind of like, that's what this is like. It's like, I'm going to start a fight with everybody, but I'm not, don't punch me though. Hey.
Yeah, or like that Jack Dorsey, you know, where he starts a bunch of fights and then he has his security guard come in and fucking protect him, you know. That's what they remind me of, you know. And it's so funny, like, they literally attacked Iran unprovoked and then whined when Iran retaliated. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's all so obvious. It's all so insufferable. And I just feel like everybody's talking about it. Everybody knows what's going on, and nobody's fucking doing anything, you know? And I've talked to these other people, you know, like I talked to Candace, I talked to Fuentes, I talked to all these other people. I'm like, why don't you guys run? You know, it's like this whole thing is like all talked out. I don't want to fucking talk about this anymore. Everybody knows what's going on. Like, now let's actually fucking do something about it. And it doesn't seem like anybody wants to actually do anything. And I don't know, it's weird for me. Like, I haven't been into politics my whole life. I mean, this has been a more recent thing. And it's crazy. The more I uncover, the more I realize like how fucked up it is and how, you know, deep the rabbit hole goes. And I guess for me, what's shocking is that there's other people that know a ton about this and they're just not doing anything. Like, even if you don't win, so fucking what?
Yeah.
You know, like, try. Like, I think that if we got enough people, I mean, look, New York is like, what, 20% Jewish or something? I mean, it's like a crazy amount, and they elected Mandani, you know what I mean?
Well, vote Democrat. Most American Jews vote Democrat, especially in New York. So,
yeah. But I mean, he's a guy that, you know, was clearly anti-Israel and whatever, and he still got elected, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why he did get elected.
I agree. Well, I think we're about to find that out in the midterms, definitely on the Democrat side. I don't know about the Republicans yet. Maybe you're definitely going to be one of the best test cases. And I'll just say this to kind of push back on that a little bit, maybe play devil's advocate. The reason why this would be my mindset it's like if you were gonna apply that pressure to me, and let's say it's fair, it's like, hey, Shroyer, you've been doing this, you've been talking for 15 years, why don't you run? I guess I would say I don't think the environment was right. I feel like we kind of had to cultivate this environment where you could run and maybe get a chance at winning instead of just running into a wall. I think we might be there. I think we might be getting closer to that environment. And who knows, maybe Dan Bilzerian breaks the wall down and there's the floodgates coming in 2028. I think it's inevitable on the left. We'll see what happens on the right. Your race, Fishback. There's going to be some ones to watch. The race in South Carolina with Lindsey Graham. Hopefully they finally get rid of him. So there's going to be races to keep the eye on. But speaking of your race, I know we're really early in the process, and I appreciate you coming on today because I don't know where you're at as far as the campaign infrastructure is concerned. I know you've got it built, but where can people go to support your campaign, follow your campaign, if they want to help you out here to get quote unquote fat Jew? I'm just quoting Harvey Levin here. If they want to get him 4 times, he said it. If they want to get Harvey Levin's favorite fat Jew, Randy Fine, out of office and vote Bilzerian, how can they keep up with the campaign, Dan?
Okay, I'm going to it right now. It is BilzerianForCongress.com.
So we are up and running.
Yeah, hopefully it works. They gave us a lot of shit with the payment processor. I'm self-funding some of this. I really do think that, unfortunately, this campaign is going to be won or lost based on how much we can raise nationally for this issue, because the voter base is like the primary Republican voter base is like 70% 55 and older. So I think we're going to have to actually knock on their door and show up and explain this to them, because they're not on social media. They're not educated on the issues, and they've been plugged into Fox. So I think this is going to have to require like a real grassroots movement. I think this is like a very, very important race, not just for like the unseating of Fine or, me going in there and shaking the fucking tree. But I think this is a very important race because I think it'll show people that it's possible to win as a non-traditional candidate. People are ready for this message, because my message is pretty fucking aggressive. And I'm not going to tone it down. And, if I'm doing this for the people, right? Like, I don't want to be in Congress. I don't want to fucking, move to Florida and wear a suit and do all this shit. But like, I feel like I have to. I feel like if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. And we need people in office that actually give a shit about our country and are not bribable, not corruptible, and, are willing to die on this fucking hill, to be honest. Because, when I started talking about this shit was, 2.5 years ago, this was like a death sentence. They were fucking ruining people, killing people, whatever, for saying this. And I think because we kicked the fucking door in so hard, I think now other people are feeling more comfortable talking about this. Because you got to understand, when I did Piers, I did that like over 2 years ago. They waited a while to air that episode. But what I couldn't believe was how positive the comments were back then. Because back then I was like, fuck, man, this is unwinnable. Like, I don't think people understand. I don't think enough people are aware for us to have a chance. That was my feeling back then. Now I'm like, holy fuck, everybody knows, but we can't do anything. And so that's why I feel like I honestly feel like we have a short leash. Like, we have a very short timeline for this. I think if we don't take control of our government in the next 2 years, I really think we're fucked. Like, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I really think we're fucked. Like, I think Palantir is, fully in place. I think they're monitoring everything. I think that they stop any kind of resistance before it even is considered. I think anybody that could be a potential leader, they squish, smear, whatever. I'm waiting for the fucking smear campaign to come out against me. Who knows? It's bound to happen, right? And you've seen it historically. So I think that, this is very important to do, because I think by 2028, if we don't get somebody in office, and I mean not just like some congressmen and senators, I mean we need a president that's going to really change things. I think it'll be too late. That's my honest opinion.
BilzerianForCongress.com. There is the homepage right there. and the donate link, and then all of the socials that you can follow Dan on. Well, Dan, I think that you're obviously running for the right reasons. And the one thing that you say that I think resonates with many people, which is we need some. This has to be a labor of necessity. This has to be a labor of survival, not a labor of, hey, I'm trying to get famous or rich or grow my profile. You certainly don't need any of that. For you, this is an existential crisis our country is in, and you're stepping up and you're running for Congress, even though you know the slings and arrows are going to come after you. So I think you've said it all, Dan, but if there's any closing statements you want to make before we let you go, have at it.
I'm all good, brother. I appreciate the time and the conversation. This was good. I think it'll help wake people up to the real problem.
Well, no doubt about it. And the recognition, the name recognition of Dan Bilzerian, the popularity is going to give you something that Randy Fine certainly doesn't have. And so it'll be interesting to watch. I know you're not going to hold back. That's not the Bilzerian way.
You're going to get the Unfiltered, that's for sure. It'll be interesting at a minimum.
And I'm definitely looking forward to the different sort of campaign techniques, let's say, that you use against Randy Fine, because there's all kinds of ammo there. I mean, I don't think the guy's going to be hitting the gym anytime soon. So, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, he's very hateable. He's very hateable.
All right, Dan. Great stuff. Good catching up.
Cool, man. Good talking to you, brother.
And Bilzerianforcongress.com.